How's it going, everyone? It is Prashan here, and I have Tucker with me. We are going to go over some of the top meta decks, some of the top decks, what we feel is pretty cool out there in these Snap streets, especially since I post a deck video almost every day, and Tucker is on Twitch, hours on end, playing, grinding. He sees everything and, yeah, all the above out there. So shout out to Tucker. And if you're not following Tucker on YouTube and Twitch, follow him on YouTube and Twitch. Anything you want to say to the peeps out there, Tucker?
I want you guys to make sure you like, comment, and subscribe on this video. This is a new thing we're starting to do, and I think it's going to be really, really awesome. So definitely also hit that bell. We make sure you get these notifications for Prashan as well. Man makes fantastic content, but definitely stick around. We got a lot of decks we're going through, and it's going to be really, really informative for you guys.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and then shout out to Power On Gaming. We're both on Power On Gaming, so shout out to the rest of the squad. Let's see. Let's get into Namora. Let's talk about Namora. How do you feel about Namora?
So I think prior to the OTA, I was like, okay, she's good. On a top end, she's a 516. On a low end, she's like a 511. I was like, this feels good. I still was getting leeched every single game, so I couldn't really use her. But now post-leech, I feel like people have really been cooking with her, which is cool, which is what you'd like to do with a new card. You don't like her just to be a plug-in kind of, like, I mean, maybe you do want her to be a plug-in, but I like you're building new decks with the card, and we're seeing a bunch of different options with her, which is cool.
Right. I think with most cards in Marvel Snap, like there's so much speculation on if the card's going to be good or not until you actually get the card. And I thought Namora was going to be like a turn 6 play, but she's not. You can actually play her if you have ramp. You could play her on turn 4, or you could actually play her on turn 5, and then just keep the opponent guessing on turn 6. So I think she's pretty decent. I don't think she's for everybody, not everyone's cup of tea, but I think some will actually make do. And then I have a pretty spicy deck that was given to me during my stream by B Doggy, and it's a Namora Destroy deck, which is pretty interesting. I forgot the card he had in here, so besides X23, I put X23 in here just for some ramp. That way I could play Namora early or do whatever I have to do early. I did get some value from playing Namora onto like Venom. Like Venom is by himself in the lane, or Deadpool's by himself in the lane, and you destroy him, especially with X23. So what are your thoughts on this?
So I think it's a very interesting list. It kind of reminds me of Phoenix Force a little bit, like getting some Namora value. I really love Iron Lad in Destroy. I've been using him in Destroy for a hot minute because of like the value you can get if you don't draw all your cards. And like there's that one time you know your Iron Lad turns into a Zola, and you get that early Zola, and then you Zola the Iron Lad again, and you're like pretty much playing on Bar Sinister, which is really cool without having to have the location. I think it's interesting with the Wong in here, yeah. But I can kind of see the vision a little bit there. But no, I think it could be fun.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely, well, I got lucky with locations. I'm not gonna lie. I had Karmatage, and then I had like 2 cards by themselves, and the opponent thought they were gonna win, and I just played Namora and Karmatage, and I won that way. And then I had Dark Dimension, so I just hid like Wong, Namora, and then I had Artem Zola, so it popped off. So I would admit, like, I did get lucky with locations, but I definitely want to tweak this a little bit more. Something a little bit different from the normal Namora stuff that's out there. So this is definitely an honorable mention for this week. So we'll go into the next deck we have. We got some good old Lockdown that's been taking over the meta lately. So what are your thoughts on Lockdown lately? Especially this variation of it.
So this deck is so good, and it beats me all the time because Cannonball just is like, to me, like Shang-Chi, of course, is painful, but like Cannonball, I can't really be mad about Cannonball, but like I think it's really cool how this card has developed more from everyone thinking this card's going to be horrible to this card actually being really solid and really high up in the meta. And I think there's a lot of Ravonna usage in this list too, which I really like. Like when we think back to some of these like discounting cards, like old Zabu and stuff, I wouldn't play Zabu in a list unless I had like 3 or more kind of 4-drops. So I like having multiple options for Ravonna to hit here to get value. So like the lines are all over the place, and Sage is really freaking good.
Oh yeah,
way
for
better
sure.
than I thought.
For sure.
Like, I love it.
I think in Snap lately, I don't know if everyone's like running out of resources, but everyone's being picky on what cards they get. And I think Sage was one of those what ifs or iffy cards. It's like, should I get this? Like, I don't know how big she'll get or not. I know Binks got Sage to like 200 or something. I think I've gotten her to like 40, 60 something. So she definitely has some high value. She's a surprise card as well. If you have mixed values within a location, final turn, you just put her down and you win the lane. And then especially with Ravonna here, right? Ravonna has a lot of value in this deck overall, especially with Angela, White Widow, Green Goblin, even Wolfsbane and Professor X. It's key, especially lockdown. Getting that lane locked down early, just playing your cannonball. The only thing I found bad with this deck was if I had priority, I was sometimes screwed because I don't have Shang-Chi. So I try to give up priority as much as you can or keep the deception high when playing this deck. That's my advice.
No, I think that's perfect. And like you hit it on the head too. Like we don't think about it, but like Ravonna does discount Angela. So if you wanted to play Angela a little bit later, you could play a Goblin and Angela on the same turn with Ravonna, which is really cool. And kind of just profit, which is awesome.
Right. And then especially with like Kitty Pryde too and Hope Summers, like Kitty Pryde is the engine for Hope Summers, so you just keep on putting Kitty Pryde in. When you're playing against Destroy too, you don't have to play your one drops all the time. So it's like especially with that Ravonna value, you could just play other stuff and then just throw them off guard. I know there's like turn 4s and 5s where they play their Killmonger a little bit too early on me and completely whiffed. And I played Professor X and just locked down a lane. So awesome deck. This is one of the top meta decks right now. I have a variation of this that's my go-to whenever I need to climb, and it's been going pretty well. So lockdown it is. And then next we have some good old ongoing. And then we have Captain America here. Good old Captain that got buffed. What do you think about this Captain America buff?
I think the Captain America buff is really good. I think it's different because it's only ongoing cards getting +2, but you 100% plug this in for Punisher. Everyone has Captain America, so you don't necessarily have to have a substitution, which is good. This list overall is incredible. With Leech being readjusted, Hela running rampant, you need a Hela counter list, and this is that counter list for you. So the stats are just going to keep going up and up on this. And even if there is Leech, what happens if we do get leeched on this list?
Nothing, except for Spectrum. I think this like ongoing was a product of Hela running rampant and the whole Leech situation as well. So it's like, all right, what can we play that doesn't get leeched? And this was the perfect thing. And then as well as like Cosmo value too, right? And I think I had a ongoing deck that had Cosmo and Mystique. I would play Cosmo in one lane and Mystique in another, because I feel awkward playing Jean Grey. It's not really my thing. But Jean Grey, you play Jean Grey in a lane, and you play Cosmo in that same lane. Those Hela decks, they have no choice but to play in that lane. So this was definitely a product of the meta, and it became the meta.
Yeah, and if you wanted to, you could also tech in US Agent. If you're running into just some more of these bigger cards that maybe aren't using on reveals, it kind of just depends on like what you're running into. But no, I think like what you said, like the whole Mystique functionality with this list too, especially like everything's an ongoing that Mystique can copy. I mean, I guess Leech would hurt Mystique, but you're playing Leech out, or you're playing Mystique out before Leech is getting played. So, like you're
sure,
pretty safe,
especially since Leech is a 5. And I think this is another card too that some people slept on that has very good value.
I mean, it was, yeah, and the difference is like it was -3 at first. I'm like, -3, whatever. And then as soon as it became -4 power, everyone's like, whoa. And it's better at -4 though. I mean, at Red Hulk, he kind of still eats it, but like some of these other cards, like you play this against Tribunal just cries because it's just no power.
For sure. If that what Iron Man, he's done so. That's happened a lot of times where they had Iron Man in the lane and they thought they had the lane, just slap US Agent there, and you get the dub. So next deck we want to go into is some W Control.
Let's go. Love some W Control. He actually like just posted this list And it's really interesting. You have your horizontal spread with Doom, you have your mix-ups with Valentina, and then it's Sera Tech. So like you just have tech everywhere, and pretty much every single card in this list is an on reveal. So your werewolf is just ping-ponging around the entire board. This is freaking crazy. And I think we were talking about this a little bit earlier too. A lot of W's favorite cards are in this
Oh
list.
yeah, for sure. Medusa is a W staple. Doom is a W staple. I don't see Mr. Fantastic or Miss Marvel in here. I know W likes to cheat power in locations. That way he could get those dubs. But definitely a good list. Valentina is a surprise card, I believe, in this deck. Maximus has high value on the final turn, especially with Sera. And then we have Enchantress here because, like we talked about previously, all the ongoing stuff that's going on, the ongoing shenanigans. And, of course, we have tech. So we have Killmonger, Shang-Chi, Shadow King, and Gladiator. Could be techie, too, at times. So pretty solid list. And then I know there's a lot of people that don't have like Red Guardian right now. So what would you put in besides Red Guardian?
If you don't have a Guardian, I would maybe go with like a Mobius for that other mid-range kind of 3-drop. If you don't have Mobius, maybe you go with Rogue to be able to steal some of this ongoing. And if you honestly feel like you want to do something different with the list, there's a couple cards you could maybe tech in and out. Like if you're maybe not a fan of Maximus, you could do something like a Master Mold. Or if you don't want to do like a Doom, you could do a Ronin. Ronin also with Sera makes him a 4-drop, so you can do some more of these other 2-drops with Ronin on final turn kind of thing. So you can kind of zhuzh up the list the way you like to kind of fit your needs. But like Sera Tech is pretty flexible, just dependent on what's going on in the meta to kind of like change up what you want to add and everything.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think with Sera Control, for the most part, you just plug and play, especially what you're seeing in your little meta. It's not like one size fits all for Sera. I think there's so many different cards you could just plug and put in. You're basically on the defense when you're playing Sera. I think Ghost has some high value too, especially if you're playing Shang-Chi and Killmonger too, if you don't have Red Guardian or the Gladiator or Valentina. So definitely a another solid Sera Control list by W. And then next we have some Lamby Bounce. This card here has came back. What are your thoughts on Werewolf by Night being back?
So I think Woody was talking about this actually the other day too, or yesterday. Werewolf by Night coming back is awesome. The only thing that stinks about Werewolf by Night being back right now is he does not beat Red Hulk. That Red Hulk is just so good right now. It's tough, but I think the whole ping pong action of like movement cards overall on that unpredictability for you and your opponent that they don't know where this final power is going to land, which that really helps you. But I do love him more as a 3-drop way more than as a 4-drop, being able to kind of just mess around with stuff and see if we do get more of a resurgence of like this list or the Darkhawk package that other people have been running too.
Yeah, especially with like Zabu is pretty much dead. I don't think.
Yeah.
Only time I see Zabu is maybe in negative lists. That's it. But with Zabu being dead, I think making Werewolf by Night a 3 was the right choice. And then especially since other archetypes have been dying, that bounce package doesn't keep up with all the other stuff going on in the meta. So Werewolf by Night is definitely bringing that back. So we have the deck here. It's Hood, Iceman, Nico, Beast, White Widow, Falcon, Sage. Another Sage deck. Red Guardian, Sentry, Annihilus, and then Cannonball. So pretty solid here.
Yeah, a lot of like different tech options. If you don't draw your Werewolf, Sage can still get huge. Sentry's not a 4/10 anymore, so he lost 4 power, including his power and the Void's power. But you have so many different kind of like mix-ups, and pretty much every single card in this list is an on reveal for your Werewolf to get big, which is awesome. Lamby literally cooked. I know our friend Drewski was running an Annihilus bounce list a couple of seasons back too, which with Sage now, I think you just have the verticality maybe. Which I think that's the word. Yeah.
Yes.
To get big with Sage if you don't have the Werewolf, and then like we were talking about earlier, you got that Cannonball. If you don't have that priority, you just yeet one of their cards out and you're just chilling.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think it's so cool, too, because White Widow has value. Either or. Even if you get White Widowed, sometimes you don't want to fill up that lane, or you're going to fill up that lane anyways, and you just play that Nihilus, and you just give it back to them. You just set it and forget it. They think that they got that lane. You play that Nihilus, that like -4 Widow's Kiss just goes back to them. It's amazing. And then Nico has so much value too. I think Nico is like so underrated in so many lists because she could do so many things, like changing a location, adding more power to something, even turning one of your cards into a demon like Hood that has high value. So pretty decent card here. Card list by Lamby, of course. One of the best deck builders in all of Snap.
And fun fact too with Nico is the only card in the game that can change deep space.
Oh, really?
Nocturne cannot change deep space because the movement doesn't account for what's going on in the location.
Oh yeah. But you have to make sure you play Nico outside of deep space before you play a card into deep space.
Yes. please.
Disclaimer. Like I don't want someone coming at me like, oh, I just played Nico in deep space. No.
Yeah, sorry.
You have to play her somewhere else, and the next card you play is fine in deep space, and it changes it. And then shout out to Obi for deep space. And then next we have a good old Surfer list.
Yeah, this is like more of the standard Woody Surfer list, which does not include Sera, which some of you guys might be running Sera in your Surfer list. Woody would say you're wrong, but if you want to, that's okay. But like, you're not having Werewolf in this list too. You could potentially put Werewolf in here, but you don't really have a lot of board space because you're doing your Broods, you're doing your Absorbimans, and you have these other like tech options here for like mix-ups. You could play your Forge onto Brood, or your Forge onto Shaw, or your Forge onto Gladiator and profit more with Gladiator sometimes too, because not a lot of cards are above 10 power, so you're going to be destroying some potential primary win cons for your opponent. And then you have your ramp here with Hope Summers, so you could actually do an Absorberman Surfer on turn 6 instead of having to have the Sera, which is really cool, and you're putting out a lot of token cards for your Mockingbird to kind of cost like nothing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's a bunch of different mix-ups in here. This is a very solid list. If you love Surfer, this should be your Surfer list.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a solid Surfer list. And you have some counter stuff as well, right? With Killmonger and Red Guardian. Especially if they're playing like Tribunal, Red Guardian hits that Iron Man, they're cooked. Or almost cooked. I'm not sure. It'd still be still pretty strong, but pretty solid Surfer list, I would say. Yeah. I don't know. That's it. pretty simple. I think Surfer is like one of the most simple decks. It's been around for a while since Surfer's inception in Marvel's. I think that's probably the only season I didn't make Infinite because I had like a full on tilt like the last like few days of the season when it was like actually tough to get Infinite. I think that's the one thing I don't have in my collection is that was it the surfboard? I
think it was the surfboard, and Surfer was +3.
Yeah,
at that point too.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, with Wong, it was like OP. Like I think sometimes it's like I should have put the game down for a few days instead of playing. Like even with those hot locations, I forgot what it was. Onslaught, Citadel, and then like everyone was playing Ultron and Patriot for like those few days. And for some odd reason, we're playing the same list, but my RNG was horrible. So it's like where you just like put the game down, or when it's peak. Everyone was playing negative decks. For some odd, we're all playing the same list. I was just losing every game. It's times where you just have to put the game down.
Marvel Snap gives and Marvel Snap takes. The RNG is just
for sure. And then next we have good old reliable, old faithful Hela.
And the cool thing about this Hela list, this is actually
there's no leech.
There's no leech, and this is a Husky Puppies Hela list, actually, with the Colleen Wing as actually a very interesting tech in here, which also will pretty much never hit Hela. I mean, maybe in some instances, maybe their deaths like cheaper or just on the same cusp as Hela. But Colleen here is your interesting tech card in here to kind of alleviate some of your deck here at the end, potentially even for like a Dracula kind of situation. So your Dracula is only hitting big cards. And it's just another discard opposed to just the Blade and the Sith package. You don't have Corvus in here, so you can kind of actually target what you're gonna hit. And it just really helps you with your lines. And if you don't want to run Giganto, just put in Red Hulk. That's all you gotta do, and you'll be okay.
Yeah, I think I would probably replace Red Hulk with Giganto, because if you're stuck with Giganto, you can only play him in the left.
Mm-hmm.
So Red Hulk definitely gives you some more options with this deck. So yeah, no Leech in this, man. That's pretty interesting. Do you think Leech is dead?
I don't think necessarily Leech is dead. I just think we're going to be seeing some crazy Electro and Wave ramp list here very, very soon. Because it's one day after the OTA. People are still cooking. We're going to see some crazy stuff this weekend.
Yeah, for sure. I can't wait to see what we have next week. But good old Hela, old reliable. If you're not infinite, just grind with this, and it should work in your favor. Especially with like the Blink Jubilee combo. You always get something back better. Or you could play like Dracula if you want, and then play Blink, and then hopefully get Dracula back again. That's always an option. But yeah, like Hela will always be Hela until Hela gets touched, which hasn't happened yet. They tried with Leech, but Leech killed so much other stuff in the process. Yeah. I think other decks were casualties of war when they were trying to go for Hela, but Hela can't be stopped right now. And then next, I think that's it. That's it.
That's we're keeping it a little short and sweet.
Yeah, man. That is it. So comment down below what decks you guys have been playing in Snap, or you guys think is the top decks or meta decks in Snap right now. So that's it. I thought there were gonna be more, but we'll maybe next week we'll have more. So anything you want to say, Tucker, before we dip out here?
I want to say thank you guys for watching. Definitely let us know what you guys have been playing, like Bershawn was saying, and definitely link us some other decks if you guys want us to take a look at or like pick apart or anything too. We can maybe add a segment of like what we would replace or a sort of thing, because that's always fun for everyone.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then I've been hosting members of the community on my channel. So if you guys have something cool and you want to be seen and heard, you're more than welcome to hop on the channel. I'm the man of the people. So enough of that. Till next time. See you next week, Tucker. We'll go over some deck lists. So shout out to Power On Gaming again. Be safe.
Go Power On.
Keep on snapping, and peace.